Thank you for joining us for today's message. Our hope is that it fills you with hope and encouragement and draws you closer to Jesus. But don't stop there. Download our app today and stay connected throughout the week. And finally, if you would like to contribute financially to this ministry, you can do that at morelifechurch.com/give. Now enjoy today's message.
John chapter 5 is where I'm going to read from here in just a moment. I want to just each week during this whole summer, as we're gathering together in one service, which I just love. I hope you all love this. And I got a little bit carried away and excited last weekend with the DeLorean and with all the things, and forgot to kind of tell you the genesis for this series. I have been over the last 6 months praying about where we should be as a church in the next 5 to 20 years. I went through this process, and the staff has gone through this process to kind of prayerfully consider where we should be as a church. And so each week during this summer, I'm going to kind of point out something that I believe is the potential of our church. And if you were with us last week, the first thing I shared with you is that I believe the potential for our church in the next 5 to 20 years is to place throughout Ohio 10 churches like ours. 10 churches just like ours in the next 5 to 20 years, with the first goal of being a church like ours in Zanesville by October of 2022. That is part of our vision and part of our future. The reason we've said back to our future is over the last 15 months, I have felt personally, and this is going to be kind of the subject for my message today, I have personally at times felt stuck. And I won't ask for a show of hands of those of you who have felt stuck, because as I've watched over the last year plus, I have seen the greatest levels of stuckness in humanity that I've ever seen in my entire life. People just feeling like they're stuck. And so today, we are going to come alongside of you. There's a photo that I want you to see on screen that's going to kind of summarize John chapter 5 for me. It's a picture of two individuals. One of them is stuck in the mud, and the other individual, friend, comes along and is trying to help them out of the mud. The guy in red is stuck, and the blonde-haired guy is trying to help him out. I want you just for the next few moments to allow me to be the guy that comes alongside of you as a friend if you are stuck. And many of us are stuck in some shape, form, or fashion, whether it be emotionally, relationally, financially, maybe even spiritually. We feel stuck. But when you take a step of faith, God has a plan on the other side of that step. John chapter 5 is where we're going to begin today. John chapter 5. Beginning in verse 1, here's what your Bible says. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches. I want you to hold that in your mind, 5 porches. I'm going to come back to it. In these lay a great multitude of sick people, blind, lame, paralyzed, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. Then whoever stepped in first, after the stirring of the water, was made well of whatever disease he had. Now, a certain man was there who had an infirmity 38 years. Everybody say 38. Then Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been in that condition a long time. He said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" Interesting question. I'll come back to that too. The sick man answered, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And immediately the man was made well, took up his bed and walked. And that day was the Sabbath. Today, I want to talk to you about how to get unstuck. Turn to your neighbor and say, you need to get unstuck. This is a very familiar passage, and I want to take a little bit of a different angle on it maybe than what you have heard before, but I want to use this idea of Bethesda as a metaphor for our stuckness. I've never been, as I said, aware of a time in all of my life where humans have seemed to be stuck so much. People who hate their job, people who feel stuck in a dead-end career, people who don't have a job, people who want a different house, people who want to build a house, someone who wants to get away from those who are emotionally draining, people who are dealing with physical illness, they're dealing with spiritual stagnation, people who are feeling stuck by systems and structures and organizations, feeling stuck by governmental restrictions, contradictions in our belief systems, the world seeming to go crazy at an astronomically high rate of speed. Everyone I continue to interact with seems to be feeling as though they're stuck in some shape, form, or fashion. And this man who's laying at this pool, he is stuck. He is stuck, and he's been stuck a long time. And Jesus asks him an interesting question. Jesus asks him in verse 6, do you want to be made well? This question seems so obvious to me what the answer would be. Does it seem as obvious to you? If you've ever not been well and haven't felt well, how would you react if someone came up to you and said, do you want to get better? And what if they persisted at this for a while? Do you want to get better? I'm probably going to end up using non-church words because it's going to get on my nerves. Do you want to get better? Do you want to change? Of course I want to change. But listen, when the Bible states something obvious, there is something not so obvious occurring below the surface. When the Bible says something that seems to be a simple, straightforward thing, I think God is trying to get over to us a principle that isn't so straightforward and that isn't so obvious. It's interesting, too, that when the man is asked the question, he doesn't answer the question the way in which I think a sick person should answer the question. Look at it with me one more time. Do you want to be made well? In verse 7, the sick man answered and says, Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred. Here's what I want to say to you. Bethesda, this pool, is a metaphor for stuckness. Bethesda is a picture of systems and structures that overpromise and underdeliver. Bethesda is a picture of what it means to be rigged for failure because it's promising you change that it cannot produce. Is anybody with me in what I'm saying so far this morning? It is the proverbial carrot and stick routine, always promising more but never producing what's promised. It is a systemic guarantee for you to stay stuck in your current situation. This is what's going on. That many of us, you'll have to excuse me, and I apologize ahead of time if I just say it too straight and too plain today, but some of us have made a contract with struggle. We have made an agreement with struggle, and it's our God-given right to struggle, and granddaddy struggled, and daddy struggled, and I'm going to struggle too, and he's been laying there 38 years, and Jesus says, do you want to be well? My answer would have been, yeah, I want to get better. I want to get better now. Can you do something about it? And what he says is, going right back into the trap of the system and the structure that has been set up in front of him. And we have succumbed to the systems and the structures that we have been told are the only option on the table. And I've come here today to tell someone there are more options on the table than you currently see, and you do not have to stay stuck. I am your unstuck pastor this morning. I'm here to help somebody get out of the mud and go forward with what you know you have the potential to produce in your life. In other words, wherever you are, if you don't like it, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to stay there. God has something better for you. You do not have to stay there. This could maybe be self-imposed. It could be structurally imposed. It could be imposed on you by others. I'm going to do some things today. I'm going to tell you to do some radical things. Some of you are stuck relationally with some people who have the same last name as you, and I just want somebody to have the courage to just delete that family thread that's full of nothing but toxic drama to get you unstuck out of that emotional cesspit that you've been wallowing around in. It's going to get worse before it gets better, ladies and gentlemen. But I really feel compelled today that this idea of stuckness, maybe at the end of today's thoughts, you just leave here and you're just flat ticked off with your stuckness. If you can just get a little bit mad at your stuckness, then maybe I've helped you. Quit feeling sorry for people who don't feel sorry for you. Quit looking out for people that aren't spending a moment of their time thinking about you. Don't hang out with people that are getting you stuck in the mud. It's time to get off of the porch of Bethesda and get on with your life. It's time to get back to our future. So, porches, these 5 porches, one translation calls them colonnades, which is an old architectural process and picture. If you've seen any Greek or Roman architecture from ancient times, it is the columns, the ornate columns that cover areas. It was the modern day air conditioning. It created wind tunnels and cool and calm. It created comfort for these individuals while they were waiting. That's how I know it's a structural, systemic stuckness that was pre-designed to keep them there. Because what that system did was, it said this: let me keep you cool while you're in pain. Let me keep you comfortable while you're stuck. So you get used to being stuck and don't have the desire to get up and move on with your life. I wonder what porch and colonnade you've been basking under the cool of. I wonder what you've slipped into in terms of comfort. I wonder what relationships. I wonder what kind of rhythms and routines you've gotten used to over the last however long that just kind of hides and masks the fact that you've gotten comfortable while you're stuck. It used to be on airplanes, while you were stuck in that tube, they would give you meals. How many remember when it didn't matter how far nearly you went, they gave you a full-blown meal? Now you've got to fly 18 hours nonstop to get more than one bag of peanuts. What did they used to have a value in? Keeping you comfortable. There are all kinds of things in our life that will keep us comfortable. May I say this to you? Some of you are addicted to your devices to the point where you look to that as your comfort blanket. And you're stuck because you're measuring your life against what you see on that device. It's a systemic issue that this man was stuck. And this is the first type of stuckness, as I can kind of... What I hope to do is just to give you a little bit of language to describe these things. In structural traps, systemic stuckness, what it does is it organizes your stuckness for you. It organizes it. I've seen people so stuck in time schedules that they've created for themselves and wonder why they can't get out from the burden of the schedules. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you imposed this on you. You can't even blame the devil for this. You made this schedule and this routine. You're in charge of setting yourself free from some of these things. There's no tone in it, but in verse 8, Jesus says to him, rise, take up your bed and walk. Jesus doesn't touch him. Jesus doesn't really do anything except speak to him. And I don't know if this is how it is, but in my mind, Jesus has a tone in his voice that says, you could have already done this by now. You didn't need me to come tell you this. What you needed was some voice to get you uncoupled from the idea and the mindset that has kept you in this place. I don't want to be, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to build a Bethesda church. I won't build a Bethesda church. I won't build a church around a set of systems and rules and processes that are designed to keep you stuck. What the church is supposed to do is create environments where people get messy with their faith because they're empowered to do the things that they see themselves capable of doing. And what I want to say to you is this: don't get comfortable under any of these porches that you see. Don't get comfortable spiritually. Don't get comfortable relationally. Just keep on moving. The second one is a cultural trap. A cultural trap supports your stuckness. It's a support group for stuckness. You've got a small group of people who are stuck. You've got friends that'll call you and support your stuckness because they're not having any motivation for you to move because they like where they are, and the idea of you moving means they might have to move too. And I need someone to kind of break up with the support groups that are keeping you where you are. People who will keep you back and who will be intimidated because of financial goals that you have, because of business goals you have, because of career goals that you have, because of life things that you see yourself doing. I'll tell you right now, I've seen people just absolutely lose friends over the fact that one friend wanted to go someplace and the other friend didn't want to go there too, and felt intimidated and wouldn't stay in connection because of that intimidation that was on their life. Don't let someone else's intimidation keep you back. I've had people say this to me: Josh, I don't think this way. I don't think this about me, but I've had people say this on a couple of occasions. Josh, you're intimidating as a person. I heard that a lot. And this today isn't about me, it will never be about me, but maybe this will help someone. And I said, I finally got tired of hearing that. Someone said, Josh, you're intimidating. And I said, are you sure? Are you sure I'm intimidating? Or maybe is it just that you're intimidated? Like, it isn't about me at all. It's about the thing that's going on inside of you, about what that other person is going after. Let me just go ahead and give you the next thing that I see right in the middle of this message. And the next thing that I see, us as a church, I see our potential. Not only planting and starting 10 churches throughout Ohio. I see us as a church in the next 5 to 20 years being a church that will reach 3,000 people a weekend in one location. We can do that. We can do that. We can do something, ladies and gentlemen, that I don't think has ever happened in our entire county. Why would we do that? You're just interested in numbers. That's exactly right. I am. Why? Why are you interested in numbers? Well, lots of reasons. Because those numbers are people. Let's not forget that there's an entire book in the Bible in the Old Testament called Numbers. Read it. What's it about? It's about this very thing. Someone says, oh, numbers don't matter. Yes, they do. Someone says, no, they don't. That's just ego-driven. No, it isn't. They matter. Let me ask you a question. Mike and Mackenzie, I know y'all, you have kids. How many kids do you have with you today? 3 kids with you today. Are they in kids' area? They are in kids' area. When you go to retrieve your kids, how many kids do you expect to retrieve? I should have known better, but I should have known. That's my fault. That's my fault, y'all. I should have asked somebody different. There was a little bit of discrepancy. She wanted to get all 3 of them. He was only wanting 2. Regardless of which side of the fence you are on that particular predicament, numbers matter, right? Years ago, I had someone say this to me. Josh, I don't like it that our church is growing, talking about getting back to our future. Our church has always had the DNA to be a reaching, growing church because I believe that the greatest way to grow a church is to help people come out of darkness and into light, to come out of the things that have kept them trapped and stuck and come over to the clarity that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and He is the only way to our Father, that we are to reach people who are far from God and see them translated out of the kingdom of darkness and into the kingdom of light. That's what I believe is the number one way a church is supposed to grow. I had someone say, I don't like that our church is growing. This has happened year after year after year. And I've said, that's okay. We can stop. We can stop growing. Here's how we're going to do that. Mike and Mackenzie, I'll go back to them. Contrary to my better judgment, I'll go back to them. 3 kids. They'll be in unity on this one. We can stop growing, Mike and Mackenzie. This is all it's going to take. All right? Real simple. Which one of your 3 kids do you want to die and go to hell? No. Just pick one. You got 3. Just pick one. Nobody. None of them, right? Okay, fine. Then which one of these folks' kids do you want to die and go to hell? That's what it means to not be a growing church, is to intellectually decide that someone is not worthy of heaven. That's what it means. That's what it means, is to say that no other people deserve to hear the gospel but the ones who are already in this room. That's what it means to have a small-minded thinking. That's what it means to be stuck in so many different shapes, forms, and fashions. I, as your pastor, refuse to stay stuck and stay stagnant in our pursuit of preaching the gospel and seeing people's eternity changed forever. I won't stay stuck there. I won't stay stuck there. That's going to require you to come out from underneath the porch of your comfort. It's confusing to me right now because I'm used to 2 services. It's confusing to me because I'm going to go home with a whole bunch of energy. I'm going to feel like I cheated today a little bit. I'm going to stay awake all the way through the golf match. It's going to be awesome. I don't know where y'all are because, Sonny usually sits over there, and some of y'all usually I don't know what's happening, right? That's a small picture of what it means to disrupt you and become a person who's okay being disrupted and uncomfortable. Because as our church continues to reach folks, your seat isn't going to always be available. Your time schedule isn't going to always be available. Your preference isn't always going to be preeminent. Your way of thinking and approaching life is going to get disrupted in so many different ways. Why? Because we as a church exist to love God, to love people, to reach a region for Jesus, and to make a difference for generations. That's why we exist. The last trap, I've given you the structural trap, which organizes our stuckness. I've given you the cultural trap, which supports your stuckness. Let me just say a little bit more about that on the support of trapped stuckness. If you've ever had a prolonged illness or had a loved one who's had a prolonged illness, you understand the cultural trap, the support group. Because that's the whole conversation that you have. When my mama was ill, she passed away 10 years ago with melanoma. For months and months, that was our whole conversation. I'm not mad about it. I'm not upset about it. People were kind, mostly kind. But after a while, guys, it was just to the point where my mom, she said to me, I don't want anybody else to ask how I'm doing and how I'm feeling. I'm tired of talking about it. I want to talk about something else because there's something more to my life than just this sickness that's attached itself to my body right now. Listen, there's more to your life than the stuckness that's attached itself to your life right now. And you got to get some different things in your conversing with people. You got to get something else in your mind. You got to just change the channel. You got to do something to shake it up. That's partly why we did one service. Just do something to shake up the rhythm, change the routine, change the energy. Do something to just change our stuckness. Now, this is on purpose because by the end of this summer, we're hoping to see many of you who I don't even know yet maybe, empowered and released to do something of all ages, from the youngest to the oldest, to find a place by the end of this summer, go through growth steps, find a place to serve. Let us empower you. Someone says, Pastor Josh, do we do such and such? And I've had people say this, do we do this? And they'll name something that they think we ought to be doing. And I'll say no. If the answer is no, I'll say no. If the answer is yes, I'll say yes and point him in that direction. They say, well, on the occasion when they say, hey, do we have this? And I'll say no. And they'll say, why don't we? And my answer usually isn't appreciated. But the answer is usually this, because you haven't done it yet. Somebody wanted to clap. I heard it a little bit. What does it mean? It means that the church is designed to empower people. And I am just one expression of a limitation of giftedness. And that if I try or any individuals try to do it all, we rob from others the opportunity to step out of their stuckness into what's next for them. The last trap is the people trap. He says, I don't have anybody to help me. I don't have anyone to get involved. For some of you, I want someone to write this down. Your miracle isn't divine intervention. It's human reinvention. For some of you, God is waiting for you to reinvent you and have the courage to do the thing that you've wanted to do. I want you to see these pictures as I close. The first one again of the friend helping his buddy out of the mud. Come on, you can do it. Get out of there. Jesus saying, rise, take up your bed and walk. And the more you move, the more you get stuck. The more you struggle, the more you feel stuck. The more you try, the less forward motion you make. And I'm like, just get out of it. Get out of it. Get out of it. I'm getting frustrated. You're getting frustrated. And all the while, what I'm needing you to see is this picture. This is the way out. Leave the boots. You don't need those things to move forward. Step out of that stuckness. You are not your boots. You can get out of that thing, but you're trying to drag a whole bunch of stuff with you that you don't need. And I know some of you right now, you're going nuts because you're thinking, my God, Josh, that individual stepped out of those boots and into the mud in their socks or in their bare feet. That's nuts. No. That's how you get out. That's how you get out. Jesus says, rise, take up your bed, go. You don't need to be on this porch anymore. You don't need those boots. You don't need them. You do not need them. Don't, I guess this is what I'm saying to you. Don't surrender your life to systems, cultures, and people who are designed to rob you of your future. Don't stay attached to something that you don't need to be attached to. These people traps are how this story ends. This healed, set free, unstuck man ends up getting interrogated by Pharisees because he had the audacity to get unstuck on the Sabbath. The people trap is this: not everyone will applaud when you get unstuck. Some people will boo and hiss. Some people will say, how dare you? Some people will say, this isn't your right. Of all the days you could choose to do this, you're going to do this today. And you know what I say to you? There will be people who will not applaud when you get unstuck. Get unstuck anyway. Get unstuck anyway. The church at times, this one included, has done a marvelous job of keeping people stuck. That's why statistically people are leaving church by record numbers. But here's what I believe. I believe we, as one local expression of Jesus' church in this region, can reverse that problem. I believe we can reverse it. I believe we are reversing it. And what that's going to require is a group of us who will get unstuck for the purpose of helping other people get unstuck. Because stuck people don't move people. Stuck people don't move people. You can't move someone if you're stuck yourself. You can't help someone relationally if your relationships are a nightmare. And I don't want to put any pressure on you in any way. You might be here today and feel like, Josh, I'm good. I'm good. But I have a sneaking suspicion that there are people all over this room and people watching online that you've been feeling stuck and you've needed a friend to come alongside you and simply say, hey, leave the boots behind. You can buy another pair on Amazon. They'll be better. Right? I'm going to ask you to bow your heads and close your eyes. Just for a moment, I'm going to ask two things before we go. If you don't have to move, just stay right where you are. Just be another couple minutes. So appreciate y'all's time and attention today. It means a lot to me. I'm going to ask two things. Number one, you don't have a relationship with God, but you want one. That's the first place we have to start. If you're stuck eternally, you're just one decision away from becoming unstuck in that way. Secondly, you say, Josh, I'm stuck. I've felt stuck in my family. I've felt stuck financially. I've felt stuck emotionally. I've felt stuck spiritually. And I'm just going to do something bold and daring, and I'm going to leave the boots behind. I'm going to get back to my future. So on the first thing, heads bowed and eyes closed, you say, Josh, I don't know Jesus, or I haven't been following him like I should. He's not first place in my life. He's not the first thing he's not the first one I look to for direction in my life. I'm not trying to model my life after him, but I want to make a change today. If that's you, heads are bowed, eyes are closed, I'm not going to ask you to come down front or stand to your feet. I'm just going to simply ask you with an uplifted hand. You say, Josh, I don't know Jesus, but I want to know him today. It'd be my honor to introduce you to him. And it begins with you just with an uplifted hand saying, yeah, Josh, that's me. I need to make him first in my life. If that's you, wherever you are, just slip up a hand and say, Josh, I need to make a decision to follow him today. I've never followed him, or I used to, but I haven't been, and I want to start today. If that's you right now, just throw up a hand right where you're seated and say, Josh, that's me. Anybody? Good. All right. Secondly, say, Josh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. I knew I was stuck before I got here, and I'm ready to get unstuck. Or I didn't know I was stuck, but now I realize there's some areas in my life that I am stuck. Once again, I'm not going to ask you to stand to your feet or come down front. But in this room and online, you say, Josh, I'm stuck, and I'm ready to get unstuck. I'm just going to invite you right now just to lift up your hand right where you are and say, Josh, that's me. All over this room, hands are going to go up and are going up. Just throw them up there, leave them there for a minute. I'm stuck. I've been stuck. I need to get unstuck. Just go ahead. Go ahead. Now's your time. There's no reason to hesitate. Just go for it. If that's you, I need to get unstuck. I need to get my foot out of that boot. Leave it up there. Leave it up there. Leave it up there for just a second. Amazing. Amazing. If you're online, there's something that you can, there's a tab you can respond to. You can put them down. I just want to pray over you who said that. Father, I thank you right now for every hand that was lifted. And even if the hand wasn't lifted, but the heart jumped toward you. We're not limited only by the lifting of hands, but by an outstretched heart that says, I'm stuck. Does anybody care? Can anybody help me? Father, I thank you right now that in the days and the weeks to come, that your divine power is working now and continuing to work to get them empowered, free, and forward. Give them the strength and courage, God, to step out of that boot. Get up and go. To rise and walk. Father, thank you for doing this. In the matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thanks again for joining us for today's message. Now take a second and subscribe to our channel. Or you can share this message with someone that you think could use it. And finally, if you would like to contribute financially to this ministry, you can do that at morelifechurch.com/give. Now have a blessed day.